for inside Edo State. Obaseki talked this one for the workshop on Phase 1 of Edo State Regional Development Plan and Benin City Master Plan wey shele on Tuesday for Government House for Benin City. This workshop wey shele with traditional rulers, government people, civil society people, and important stakeholders dey in line with Edo State government commitment to plan Edo State and Benin City wella wey constitute body inside the Making Edo Great Again agenda of Governor Godwin Obaseki wey people sabi as the mega agenda. Governor Godwin Obaseki when tok say Benin Empire na one of the most planned city for the world, come still tok say before him comot as governor, im administration go create ogbonge plan wey go help plan Edo for the next 30 years. Obaseki come still tok say any community wey wan sell land must first do check with government to make sure say their plan follow government plan, make confusion for no dey.
In everything we do, one of the most important features of our lives is the land on which we operate. Everything we do has to be done on land. And we are lucky in Edo State in the sense that for over 700 years, we developed a land management system that everybody knows about and everybody respects. The Benin Empire is reputed to be one of the most organized in Africa in terms of the way it has carried out its affairs. The people who visited us here, Portuguese explorers who visited us here hundreds of years ago, talked about how orderly our city was, how planned everything they met and they saw was. So we have an advantage as a people. The question is that almost 700 years after, why do we have a crisis? What is going on? For a long period, because we had a monarchical system, a government headed by the Oba that enforced rules, everybody obeyed. When the British came, they met an organized system and they superimposed what they brought from England on what we had. They did not destroy it. The land in Benin and Edo State at that time was owned and supervised by the sovereign. The king had the land and held the land in trust for his people. That is the tradition. That is our history. Come the military, we then had a crisis of legitimacy. And the military, in its own wisdom, came up with the Land Use Act to now vest all the land in the government under the supervision of the governor at the state. I'm saying all of this so that we know where we're coming from. Because somebody has to be responsible not only for administering the land, but also planning so that everything can fall in place. So that when you come into a place, you can say, this is for forests. This is one we preserve. This one we used to farm. This one is for building houses. Growing up in Benin City, there were quarters, there were communities. The communities had wards. So when you want land, you go to the ward will lay out, the wards all have layouts. And they are the ones that we allocate land to, is it not? And then you now take it to the palace for it to be registered. With the Land Use Act, you are supposed to take all of that document and get it surveyed and registered with government. But over time, particularly since the mid-80s, everything broke down. All the plans that were put in place, nobody respected them anymore. The last real plan we had for Edo State was under our late Governor Ubamudia. So are we surprised today that when rain falls, everybody's afraid because you are not sure that you will not be carried away by the flood? Why is that so? Because the natural path water will have followed. People have purchased, sold the land, and they have built on it. Why is it that government roads does not last? Our soil is supposed to drain water away, but when we have clogged everywhere, our land is now as if we are in the heart of the Niger Delta. So for us as a government, we said no. we will not allow this continue. If there's one thing this government is going to leave behind, it is a master plan for Edo looking out for the next 30 years, so that the children have a direction. When I was a child, General Bomodia commissioned a master plan. They displayed it in Uropota Hall. And as school children, we used to go and look at that plan. That was when the ring road was built. It used to be public square, is it not? That was when all the roads, Akenwa Road was dualized. Akwakwaba was dualized. Was that not the case, sir? That was what we met. But since then, nothing has happened that has been that lasting. So we've said as an administration, we must leave one for the future, because God will not forgive us if, with the support we got from Edo people, we leave, we finish, and we cannot say this is the direction we have given our people. God will not forgive us. But can we plan without control of the land? We cannot. So what has happened over the last few years, you cannot also blame the people. Like I said, government had a plan to say, this is where you build a house, this is where you build school, this is where you build playground. You know, before you sell land, every area is laid out. Every community that is selling land will have to register the layout before government. And that layout has to conform with a master plan. So when you don't have a master plan and you don't have layout, what do you have? Confusion. The communities now say, oh, it is our land. Yes, it is your land, but that land, there's a law in this country, in our constitution, which vests the authority of that land on the governor of the state. You cannot do anything you like with it without the permission of a governor. That is what the law says. It's in the constitution. And the government can take that land at any time to plan for the use of the generality of people in that area. Registration is now the proof of ownership of community land. Before you sell, you have to show us a layout. That layout must conform with our master plan. If it does not conform, we will not agree. Because this master layout, with this master plan, will tell us where school is supposed to be, where road drainage is supposed to be, where road is supposed to be, where playground is supposed to be. All of that must be there. So if you say you are selling your land, first you have to lay it out. We must make sure that all of these things are there, so that we don't have a situation today. You come into Benin, you go to some communities, they sell all the land, including the road. I went to a community one day to see somebody, and I couldn't get there because this person built fence here, this person built fence here. Only one car can go at a time. And I said, if there's fire in the house there, how will a fire truck get there to put out the fire? Before you build a house in Benin, we know that there must be setback, is it not? So that one day when government wants to expand the road, they have room to expand. But today, everybody builds right to the center of the road. We will not allow it again because it will not be part of our master plan. We all like to travel. Most people have children, relatives, everybody abroad. When we go abroad, is that what we see? For us, the reason why we must do this is that we have no excuse why our place is the way it is today. If 500 years ago, our forefathers knew what to do, how to plan, how to have wide streets, what excuse do we have today? Well, is it that we don't have the tradition? So, this government has said our master plan is going to be our Bible for development. Nothing is going to happen, nobody is going to build any house in Edo State going forward after we have launched this master plan without first making sure that that land, you own it. or it was sold to you by the owner. So if community is the owner, there must be evidence that community has registered the land. For you to build, for the community to sell, there must be evidence that the land has been laid out and approved to be as part of the master plan we have. For you to build, then you must have a building approval. Not just one people are building anyhow, and one day the houses are coming down on top of the people who live in there. You see what is happening in Lagos now? Today they say, oh, house has collapsed. We don't want it here. Every building must have a building plan.
Governor Obaseki talks say the reason for these things where government they do not to create better state with a ogbonge plan and can still attract correct investment come Edo.
All we're trying to do is to make our city and our state beautiful. We want to attract investments. We want to have an orderly state. Mistakes have been made in the past. We cannot continue with those mistakes going into the future. You voted for us because you believe in us. We now say we must correct all the mistakes of the past and lay a future that we'll be proud of for our children. I have said it. People are on social media. Every inch of land that has been taken by a land grabber from the owner, I will retrieve it and give it back to the original owner. And the owners will now have to plan, make sure that everything they are now doing complies with the law. Every piece of land in Edo State must now be registered. That is why we brought the cost of registration low. So nobody can say, I didn't know. Just go online and search. If anybody comes to offer you land, you go online and search, put the coordinates. You will see who has it, whose name it was registered in. If you now go and buy, anything happen, you don't blame anybody. We are not a wicked government. We are doing all of this for the progress of our people. We cannot continue the way we are going. It is not in our interests. Benin City is expanding. You have seen, they say it expanded 156 times in the last 80 years. When you are flying over Benin, I'm wondering, when will government ever get to these places? Because government most times do not even know that those communities exist. We don't know whether there's hospital there. We don't know how to put roads. But with the planning we are putting in place now, we will know. So that by the time we are leaving, we can tell you, over the next 5 years, this is what the next government should do. That road cannot get here until this time. Or we need to raise extra taxes to do this community. There must be a plan, because they say those who fail to plan to.
Governor Gov Obaseki constantly answered different questions atop the new town development project, and he constantly took mouth for different land matter for inside Edo State.
What happened in Obagenosa? Let us be honest. About 8 years ago, the idea was raised that we need to have a new town. And when we looked at the study, we said, okay, that is the best way to expand the city. About 6 years ago, the former administration did not do anything. When we came into office, we then said, truly, let us acquire areas in that axis so that we can build a new town. There's too much pressure on the center of Benin City. We then did a compulsory acquisition. We issued notices and called people so that we can pay their compensation. They all was bush. Most of it was bush. There were just a few palm farm. We did what you call a flyover. And we can show you what that place was when we acquired it. The good things are we have very good images. This was in 2017. So you can see yourself what that place was when we acquired it. Nothing happened for 2 or 3 years. Until we built that road from Airport Road through Iriri to Saple Road. Once we started building, LDP just went in and started grabbing the land. That is what happened. We were putting signboard warning people, this is government land, don't buy. Nobody answered us. Yahweh boy day. January 2021, we had acquired in 2018. Do you see anything there? Do you see? Is it not green? Look at it 1 year after. What happened? In 1 year. Who's on whose land? When we were doing the master plan, this is what happened. We have the evidence. That's why none of them can go to court. For them, they said they didn't care. No, but nothing can happen. That was why I now said, because they were armed. True of us. That is why I went to Abuja to get a special squad. And you hear the guns from my special squad. I said, let them come. Instead, now we have government or we don't have government. If you allow them, it is you today. Tomorrow, you don't know who it will be. That's why we have the first responsibility of government is law and order to protect lives and property. So, in the case of Abaginusa, we acquired this land. It is government land. Okay, some people have been defrauded. We are now doing an enumeration. We say, everybody who bought land, come and let us know. Show us the paper they gave to you. Right? So that we can also record and enumerate. Show us how much you paid. I will go after them. Many of them have run away, but I have their pictures, I have their photographs. I'm going to be declaring them wanted and putting on billboards across the city. Anywhere anybody see them, we will arrest them. They will produce the money they collected. We know many of them would have spent it anyhow. But after that enumeration, we can now sit down with you to say, okay, you pay them how much for 2 or 3 plots? Okay, you may not be able to get all the 2 or 3 plots. Take 1. Do you understand? We are your government. We will not let you suffer twice. Somebody stole from you, then we'll not punish you on top. No. We'll look for a way to resolve it. Are we clear? They are the ones going around spreading the false information about government just to give a bad name and justify what they are trying to do. But we will not allow them. And I know from what I've heard from you today, you will not allow them to do it. How many years ago everybody was building bungalow? Today, does it make sense for everybody to be building bungalow? You go abroad, everybody is building high-rise. Why? Because they want to use the land more effectively and efficiently. But the truth is that it is the economy, the economics that will force you. If the land becomes very expensive, you know it doesn't make sense to build 1 unit on the land. You want to build more units so that you can make your money back. Also, in terms of when we're going to be defining zones, but I can't force you to say, okay, I've bought this land 100 by 100. I want to build bungalow. I say, no, you must go and build high-rise. There will be areas where you will designate anyway to say this area, you can only build up to 10 floors or 5 floors or what have you. Mass housing is important. We must build mass housing. And we have started, this is the reason why we're even acquiring the land. It's not to sell to big men alone. It's to sell to everybody. Look at what we're doing in a motor garden. But for mass housing to work, you have to plan it, you have to provide the infrastructure, and then you have to support the citizens to have mortgages to be able to buy the houses. So change of use, there's a process to change use. If we say this area is for residential and you want to do commercial, then you must apply, and if it doesn't fit what we want for that area,